Or they could just call the most obvious choice.
You.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that, you know, that band I showed you, Heart of a Coward? I think that's who should fucking front the band. Because he's got awesome clean vocals.
What about that guy from Calculating Infinity? He's pretty good. He'd be like, this is way too fucking structured. I don't even know how to sing over this.
And if you think this is way too fucking structured, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe. That is Dan. That is Geoff. And we're talking about the Dillinger Escape Plan on this episode.
Hell yes, we are.
Bring on the chaos.
I think Dan's a little excited.
I am totally ribbed out for this episode.
Yeah, he's like, veins are bulging.
I love the Dillinger Escape Plan. And I cannot tell you how excited I was to get to listen to one of my favorite bands all week and actually have like an actual reason for it.
You know what's funny is back in the day when I used to do a lot of work for, I'm going to give a plug. Sorry, I can't help myself. Hockeyfights.com. Man, there were so many people on that site that loved Dillinger. And because of that, I was a total hipster dick. And like, nope, I'm not going to listen to him because everybody else likes him.
It's your loss.
Yeah, it was totally my fucking loss. Because then a couple years later, I started listening. And I'm like, God, I was a douche. Apparently Jason Wisdom was right.
Always right.
Because this is a really good fucking band. I love the fact that they don't... It's like they have like split personalities. I love that.
They're bipolar in their presentation.
It's more like they're quadpolar or some shit.
This is like if you have a blender and you throw in some radishes, some spicy onions, some fucking cherry, like some sweet cherry flavoring, like what you use to flavor cherry Coke, like cherry grenadine.
Is this recipe for that relish your wife made last week?
Fucking a bunch of cocaine, 4 pickles,
apparently not.
And an entire bottle of Tabasco sauce. And you mix that shit up and drink it. That's Dillinger.
But the fun thing about it is your blender doesn't work quite right. So it's not all like 100% mixed.
Nope.
So sometimes you're getting nothing but Tabasco.
Right. But sometimes, and sometimes there's like a little pinky drip that's like falling out of the blender on the side, or the shit that you like scoop up from the outside of the blender. That shit is Dillinger. 100%.
Well, before we get into what is Dillinger, 100%, I'm going to take this time to say thank you to everyone for listening to the podcast. Thank you for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We are on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, so if you have an Amazon Echo or a Google Home, you have no excuse. Ask it to play the latest episode of the Discography Discussion podcast, and it will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out. It lets us know you're listening. And now Dan is going to tell us all about 5-star reviews.
We love 5-star reviews here on Discography Discussion, and whenever you leave us one, we'll actually read it on the show, which is what I'm going to do right now. On iTunes, DTMOF84, which I actually think I know who that is. He writes, really enjoyed the podcast. Every episode sounds like a conversation I would have with some friends on the way to a concert or just hanging out in general. Well, thank you very much for that review. That's, one review, so 9 more, and we're going to do the Faith cover.
I was going to do Careless Whisper. No.
Okay, well, you do what you want on your time, buddy. So, yeah, thank you again, guys. Keep those reviews coming. Keep tweeting at us. Keep sending us emails.
We got a tweet from Kent Renton. He says, I just found you guys thanks to a mention on Podcast Rock City. Listening to the Contortionist episode, and you guys mentioned BT Bam a lot. Are you going to do a BT Bam episode?
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%.
Not 43%. Burnt. Dillinger joke.
See what he did there?
I do.
Har.
By the way, thank you, Podcast Rock City, for the shout-out. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you this. I am thoroughly enjoying myself a high brew coffee right now.
Courtesy of High Brew Coffee.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd like the Mexican vanilla. And I was way wrong.
You got that cinnamon, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm normally like a straight up like old school like give me my coffee black kind of dude. So it's very creamy. It's really good.
Very nice. Yeah, we love you, High Brew Coffee. Sometimes our podcasts go really late into the night, and we need something to give us a little bit of a boost. And that's where High Brew Coffee comes in. It is a cold brew coffee, so none of that warm stuff. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I drink warm coffee when I'm tired, I just continue to fall asleep because I'm too comfortable with it, you know? But a nice cold brew coffee really kind of gives you that kick in the ass that you need and gets you up and moving. So check out High Brew Coffee.
So, Dan, tell me about the Dillinger Escape Plan.
Okay, so if you take a blender and then you... Oh, wait. We did that already. Okay. I forgot to mention, though, that whenever you're done, you need to actually pour that mixture out onto a pan and put it in your oven and then burn about 43% of it. Something like that.
You're such a dork, dude.
The Dillinger Escape Plan is a chaotic hardcore band that put out their debut album, Calculating Infinity, in 1999. They had put out a demo before that that we are not going to review tonight. This is as good as chaotic metalcore gets.
Or got. It's one of those things, whenever I first listened to it, it was like, okay, these guys are beyond technically proficient. And they're out to prove that they are. Because they are all over the fucking map with this. And it's one of those times where that's a good thing.
Like the Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza, the first time you hear the Dillinger Escape Plan, you are only going to hear noise. And you're going to wonder to yourself, how could somebody put this on a record and release it and expect me to like it? But the more times you listen to it, you start realizing that this shit is actually really complicated and really hard to pull off. And they accentuate that a little bit because there's going to be some weird little mellow melodic part thrown in there every now and again just to keep you on your toes. Unfortunately, because of how chaotic the music is, that doesn't leave room for shit like choruses or any kind of structure. I mean, if you have any semblance of traditional song structure, you need to throw that shit out the window right now. Because Dillinger on Calculating Infinity is not about writing songs that you're necessarily going to remember the first time you hear them, which in some cases is a detriment. But I feel like on this album, I am like a little kid in a candy store the whole time I'm listening to this because I just never know what the band's going to do next. Whether you're going into more of a chaotic grindcore direction, or they're going to throw some jazzy shit in there just to keep you on your toes, a little bit of melody, and then you're just back to a swarming vortex of noise.
And that's the fun of it for me.
It is.
I mean,
it's so fun.
I really enjoy that, and I'm glad that you mentioned Tony Danza Tap Dancing Extravaganza because I feel the same way about them. I actually like the fact that. It's almost like a horror movie. It's like you're not exactly sure when the scare is going to happen. And you're like, holy shit, because they lull you into this sense of, security, and then all of a sudden they just go off on a tangent. I fucking love it. It's great. It's a blast.
I don't get the horror movie vibe on this record so much. I feel like in this movie, you are the monster. So you're experiencing that chaotic freak-out scene the entire time. The entire run length, you are on your fucking toes.
Well, no, that's what I'm getting at.
Like, this is just, it is unrelenting.
But you are right. There is not the lull like there is in future albums.
Yeah, is it a push a boulder up a hill kind of album? I would say no. Mostly because it's not super long. So, I mean, you're only bludgeoned for like 35 to 40 minutes?
37 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a super long record. And, I mean, you could try to make sense of the lyrics. I tried to. I failed. I've been trying to wrap my mind around what the hell Dillinger's talking about for years, and I just can't really break it. It just sounds like a whole bunch of really personal emotions that are described in really abstract ways, and then they throw some cool one-liners in there every now and again just keep you on your toes.
So now we know why it's an advantage not to follow the lyrics.
Well, I think in certain cases it isn't. I mean, I don't think you're looking for some across-the-board rule, and there isn't one.
I'm just messing with you, Dan.
But no,
I gotta have a little fun.
You can't mess with me on Calculating Infinity. It is by far, in my opinion, a perfect fucking record. There's nothing that you could add to it. There's nothing that you could take away to it. It is by far the most amazing representation of what it is that I have heard in most bands. And I listen to this genre pretty regularly, and nothing has ever quite captured the feeling I get when I'm listening to Calculating Infinity. It is that good. If you're looking for melody, look somewhere else. If you're looking for catchiness, look somewhere else. This is just a straight on beat you over the fucking head type of experience. But I guess the whole thing of it being kind of techie, a little bit jazzy, a little bit bluesy in places. I'm throwing those different elements in. At least you know you're getting your ass kicked by someone that knows their shit. You know, and that's
it takes a lot to play this style of music and have it not sound like complete shit.
Yeah, and let's talk about the drumming on this record. Holy shit!
Yeah, well, that was what stood out to me more than anything else on this album. It was absolutely insane. I was actually, I broke one of my rules and didn't have my headphones in because work was crazy, but I needed to listen, and I had a coworker go, "Holy shit, what the hell are you listening to?" Like, he goes, "That drummer's insane," and I'm like, "Yep,
dude, completely insane." Like some of the blast beats and shit that get pulled off here, and how he just stops on a dime like it's nothing. Like either this took like 1,000,000 drum sessions to pull off, or he's that good, and I don't know what the answer is. But what I can say is that it is performed at a level that most bands cannot perform on their debut album. And I would say that's true with the guitars, with the drums, with the vocals. The vocals are all over the place. The only issue I have with the vocals and the lyrical phrasing and stuff is that because of the chaotic nature of music, it is really hard to sing over that. Even if you're a screaming vocalist, you're looking for some sort of pattern to follow,
and there
is none with this album. So I guess that's the only downside, is that, you know, the phrasing's a little weird on the vocals, but I can't really fault that because, number one, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about anyway, and two, it just sounds good. Like his vocals are just in the pocket and very almost pleading, like emotional. Like it is definitely an emotional outlet, and it works on every conceivable level on this record. I mean, I could kiss this record's ass forever, but like it is literally one of the best representations of chaotic music that you're ever going to hear.
It's way up there for you for debut albums.
Absolutely, man.
Is it the top for you? I mean, can you think of anything else that you would say is better as a debut?
Top 10 at least.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's number one, but I don't really like to put numbers on it.
Right, but it's way up there for you at least.
Yeah, I had a smile on my face from beginning to end every time this week.
So, on a top 5 list, which we don't normally do, where would this sit amongst the Norma Jean, Converge, Zeos of 1999? Is it right up there in the mix, or is it still on the outside?
No, it's in there. It's above that stuff, actually. Like, I have no issue saying that. Like, I love shit like Norma Jean and the Chariot and stuff, but it was still derivative of Dillinger. Not so much. I'm not really gonna throw Zeo in there because they don't really play this style. Zeo's version of Chaos is much different. So I wouldn't put them on there.
You're right, that's a bad example. I was thinking of the dissonant parts of the metal.
Yeah, well...
Whereas this would kind of be more like in the Mars Volta vein of chaotic delivery. It's just he's not singing.
There's nothing else like it. Not from this time period, except maybe what like Coalesce was doing. That's probably the best example I could give. I mean, Converge was good at this point, but I feel like Converge got a lot better over time. So if we're talking just 1999, I'm saying this is cream of the crop. This is the best you can get for your money here. And I kind of still feel that way in a lot of ways. I think Converge has come close, but again, Converge is still a little bit more rooted in punk, you know, and like punk and hardcore. This is very much its own thing. And it is absolutely what everybody would imitate for the decade following it. Like, need I say more? It's fucking landmark.
So let's talk about Miss Machine.
Let's do it.
This has one of my favorite songs on it.
So this is 5 years later. This is 2004. I believe there was a period of time between these two records where Mike Patton actually sang for the band.
No shit?
Yeah.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah.
I guess I know which YouTube rabbit hole I'm going down tonight.
Absolutely, man.
God, I'm such a Patton fan, it's not even funny.
Couldn't think of a better band for Mike Patton to front.
Is that
You know what I
going to
mean?
be a
Like,
new Patreon feature? Geoff searches YouTube for Mike Patton.
It's just a 3-second clip of holy shit, this is great. See, I've heard it. You haven't.
I gotta check it out. I'm God, I didn't even know that existed. I'm normally pretty good on being on top of those things.
Yeah, I believe there's a whole EP with Mike Patton.
Oh, shut up, dude.
Yeah,
Are you
dude.
Fucking serious?
I'm dead serious.
How the
I can't believe you didn't know that.
I'm such a piece of shit, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. But Miss Machine.
A.K.A. Dan's favorite Dillinger album.
Well, okay, so they had a vocalist switch, which was really not an issue. Mike Patton was singing with them while they were still looking for a vocalist. They actually did a contest online where you could sing 43% Burnt. That they had an instrumental version that you could sing over, and that's how they sought their next vocalist. And unfortunately, there is no tape of me doing that song and sending it in. That was a little too early for me to be doing that kind of stuff. But they got a guy named Greg, and I'm gonna totally botch his last name, so we're just gonna call him Greg. Greg was their new singer. He sang 43% Burnt real good. And so he actually recorded 2 versions of it. He recorded one that sounded identical to what the Calculating Infinity one sounded like, and then he did one in his own style. And we're gonna get into what Greg's own style was whenever we get into Miss Machine. There's a lot more surprises for us as we go on.
Trent Reznor called. He wants some of his loops back. Notice I said some.
You know, it's funny you say that. I guarantee you that you're talking about the same song I am that I thoroughly enjoy.
I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. In fact, I kind of question the decision of how chaotic can we really be, guys? Well, obviously, we have to play a completely different style. That's the ultimate chaos, right?
Well, I don't think so. Like, I mean, the first 2 tracks on this record are fucking church burners, man. They are intense.
I'm sorry.
Am I wrong?
No, I'm just
Like,
it's funny hearing you say that. That's all.
yeah, they are. Oh my god! Like, I was really divided on Miss Machine when it came out because I love Calculating Infinity so much. I did, man. I was like, I didn't want to hear a new singer. I didn't want to hear any new songs.
You were that guy.
I was perfectly satiated with Calculating Infinity. However, as I often say on the show, looking at it as an adult, I can definitely say that some of the changes that took place on Miss Machine were appreciated. So you had the first 2 songs basically just sound like B-sides off of Calculating Infinity, except for now we have a budget. It's like the difference between Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Like,
Is it a sequel? Is it a remake?
well, no, it's not, though. I mean, it's more just like of the same thing, but with like obviously more money put into it. The equipment's better, the recording's better, everything's better, but they're still playing as crazy as shit as they played before. But also, like Evil Dead 2, this is when the band stops taking themselves so damn seriously. And that will become a staple of Dillinger's sound later on, is that they're not necessarily sold on the image of Dillinger either. And so they don't have any problem fucking with us from time to time with the format. And so whenever Highway Robbery comes in, you're like, holy shit, like, what is going on here? Like, you've got a fucking chorus?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And he's singing? I mean, he's yelling, you know, he's got like this, you know, early, you know, proto-Southern rock thing that became a little bit more popular around that year. You know, and so it wasn't entirely a clean vocal, but it was definitely more of like a weird Southern rock kind of hard rock and rolling kind of song, you know, like, I don't know how to describe it. You know, then you go into Van Damsel and they're like, oh, fuck, we're just fucking with you, dude. We're still Dillinger. It's fine.
Like I said,
like, don't worry
chaos.
about it. Yeah. Yeah. And at this point, I'm completely disoriented, you know, because after a while, you know, you're used to being spun around in the dark with blindfold on, you know, so long. So, like, I got used to Calculating Infinity. I memorized the riffs. I memorized the song structures.
You have to memorize it in order to remember it.
You do, and that's fine. I listened to that record 18 bazillion times, and so I had no issues with that. But like my first time through Miss Machine, even as hardcore of a Dillinger fan as I was, fuck, I'm 5 tracks in and I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Well, that would be a pig squeal going on.
And then they totally messed you up again.
And then, they're all like, yeah, let's phone home.
Which I fucking love.
Phone home is great.
Dude, I wish they did more of Phone Home.
Well, this is like when the electronic elements start coming in.
Yeah, and I really
that's
dig
different
it.
again. It's like, fuck, what the fuck is going on in this record? Because this is totally different. I mean, this isn't even like Highway Robbery, which is kind of a dirty, dingy rock song. Phone Home is like, we're going straight 9 Inch Nails.
And they fucking do it well. That's the great thing.
We're not letting up with this. This is the journey that we're taking you on, and you're gonna fucking get over it. And so, I had a little bit of issue with this because, like, back in the days of Calculating Infinity and Miss Machine, I was the kind of person that no clean vocals ever, So I really, really enjoyed this album much more listening to it now. Because I was definitely more into what they were throwing down. I appreciate bands like 9 Inch Nails a lot more than I did back then. So when I heard this initially, I was like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this band doing?
See, I cut my teeth on music like this, so this is right up my avenue.
Well, the song's scary as hell, too. Like, it's definitely, like, not a song you want to listen to laying in bed in the dark, Like,
unless you're me.
Unless you're Geoff and you're a fucking creeper who probably sleeps in a coffin in his basement. But
don't tell people my secrets and just say Jeff's
name. Fucking emo vampire over here.
I have church pews in my basement that I sleep on.
I'm sure you do.
I do. I'm being dead serious.
You gotta well, he rescued those seats because those first 2 songs were such church burners. Holy shit! I gotta save the pews.
I did, man. They're like 16 feet long, and these are padded. They're not like solid wood. They got pads on them. Oh, they're really comfy.
Well, I think what made Phone Home hard for me to get through, not that it was hard to get through, I love the song now, but like, I guess one of the scary things about Dillinger at this point in their career is, a song can start off like Phone Home, where it's like, okay, they're doing a 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor kind of thing here. But they're still Dillinger, so like, you never know what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds. So because... he's doing the Trent Reznor thing, and then he's screaming again, and the music gets real chaotic, then it stops. And it's just this build-up, this like cat and mouse of like, where are you guys going with this?
So is this the thing that everybody says they're trying to create when they're doing a really progressive album? We're giving you Act 1, Act 2, intermission, Act 3, the finale. Everybody says when they're doing progressive rock and progressive metal, this is a example of it being done very well. Where the obvious break from the chaos is cold, mechanical. All right, just slow down for a second, guys. Let's bring the heartbeats down to 87. Thank you very much. And now we're going to hit you like Trent Reznor.
Well, I think maybe you're making it more complicated than it is. I think this was just pure spaz.
Yeah, it's just
I think there was a lot of like, okay,
sound.
guys, we're going to do this fucked up, scary, industrial thing at first. And then we're going to scream, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to scream again. It's like trying to read the blueprints of H.H. Holmes' Murder Hotel, Like, you're just never going to get through that thing in a way that
you're
makes sense.
You're listening to that podcast again, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just a little much, but I really liked it now because I like that feeling of unpredictability. One of the hardest things, especially coming off of Demon Hunter, which was like the most predictable thing ever on every song, to have something like this that was just so, I guess for most people, unpalatable, like it was really refreshing.
Yeah, it was just like, roll the dice. What are you going to get?
It was like going through a detox. Like I could throw all my preconceived notions about what music is supposed to sound like out the window. Because then, we get back to We Are the Storm, and you're like, fuck. And it's weird because like all the parts on Calculating Infinity that made me uncomfortable and made me nervous and, it was so all over the place, that's now the comforting feeling that you get whenever they go back to this style. Now you're looking for normalcy, and the normalcy is the fucking craziness. And that's just the kind of mind fuck that listening to Dillinger Escape Plan really is.
I think it's the fun of it. I had like you said, like after Demon Hunter, I really enjoyed this week just because it was fun, because it wasn't monotonous. You knew every single time what you were getting with Demon Hunter, and this time it was like, okay, just close your eyes, pin the tail on the donkey. Where's it going to end up? You had no fucking clue.
It's going to end up in Star Wars because fuck you. That's why.
Exactly.
You don't know where you're going. I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be hearing a Dillinger album with singing on it, and the singing would be the weird, unpredictable thing. And so they're going to keep fucking with us as time goes on, too.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this cat's falsetto is fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, he's great. And his clean vocals weren't super strong on Miss Machine.
No, they're not.
But they definitely got better. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of improvement there. And Dillinger really took their time between albums. This wasn't like... It's not like a bunch of guys just went in and made noise for an hour and then left. The Chariot. This is well thought out. Everything that's there is there for a reason, and it is trying to provoke some sort of response from you. It's very interactive in that sense. But again, it is also a hell of a lot of fun to listen to. I mean, I thought this was great, and it was a really huge... It really expanded on the band's sound in every conceivable way. To just the fact that it sounded better production-wise. The screams were intense. The screams were more varied, too. On the first album... The scream, you just had pretty much one scream from beginning to end, which again is fine. It's a perfect album. I'm not saying anything bad about it. But
God, this is my favorite part of the song.
But it's not like you can't take something that's already perfect and make it better. Right?
Yeah. This is what sold me on this album. It was the
We Are the Storm.
Yeah, the second half of We Are the Storm. When he starts going in with that kind of ethereal falsetto, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
dude, this guy, he's good. I mean, I think this guy's vocals match the band so well because he is rather versatile. He can do the clean singing. He can do the crazy high falsetto. He can scream whatever the hell you want him to. And that's what makes this fun, is the fact that he's got a voice that can match the shit that they're actually doing musically. And I really enjoy that. And the fact that he can offset it, too. He can have that dichotomy when you want to and really make it a jarring experience. And I think it's great.
Do you think the personality shift and the fun of the band was just based on this one guy's personality?
I don't know about that, but I really do think that his vocal stylings just match so well what they're doing musically. That's, whether they're getting along, I have no idea. I just like... personally how he sounds against the canvas that is the band. I think it just works fantastically. I think it works.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah, it is. I think he's better than the original vocalist as far as matching the band.
As far as dynamics goes,
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it'd be impossible to answer that question,
yeah.
Being that this was their first major recognized release. Yes, they had an album before that, but for most people, this is the first record.
So, do you guys think that a band can put out a weirder album than Miss Machine?
They did.
I feel like what you're saying is it's time to talk about Ironworks, Joe.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, God. This has got, the worst song ever on it.
Fix your fucking face, Geoff. Okay? This record starts off with a bang, a shotgun blast to the face. It is amazing.
Yo, I'm not saying that this is the song that I can't stand.
No, I know, but I want to reinforce this, that, yes, this was a time period where you actually could start hearing Dillinger songs on the radio. I remember hearing Highway Robbery on the radio and being like, what the fuck? That was not the Dillinger Escape Plan, and being real upset about it or whatever. And so I kind of wrote the band off after a couple years of putting up with that shit, and I was like, well, they're clearly not the same band that they were on Calculating Infinity. I don't care. It's over. Now, here's what I didn't know. What I didn't know is that Dillinger consistently still delivers that chaotic metalcore fix that I love on every album. So regardless of how I feel about the rest of the shit that's being thrown down, this is going to be really important in a minute. The rest of it is still so strong in the chaotic hardcore or metalcore realm that I'm actually willing to give the experimentation a much better chance than I am with a band that shoves it down my throat.
Yeah, I have to say that as time went on, I actually really started to enjoy their experimentation more than I did their chaotic side, surprisingly, which I didn't think would happen. But I actually started looking forward to what else that they were given, except for one particular song on this album, which I don't understand how became a single. And
I understand.
It's horrible.
It's catchy as fuck.
Go ahead and talk about Black Bubblegum, Geoff.
It's not fucking catchy. All right, I'm going to pull up the text that Dan and I had earlier, because I can't remember exactly what I said, but let's see.
Send pics, YN.
Let's say, and I said, no, I'm not digging our work so far. It's the last listen I need to do. And he goes, no Black Bubblegum for you? And I'm like, it fucking sucks. That is the track I'm hating on right now. And then Dan goes, I thought it was a joke song, so I loved it for that reason. And then I said, I have no sense of humor, apparently, because I didn't think it was funny at all. I just think it's fucking terrible.
And then send nudes, I think was the last.
Oh.
Yeah. So, anyway, Black Bubblegum is a dirty pop song. And it is dirty.
Dirty pop song.
I can't even call it rock. That's giving it too much credit. Dude's doing a crazy, weird Ozzy Osbourne thing at the top, and that's weird to me. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what the style was because I don't know enough of. Well, you think it was a Buck Cherry type of?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll go with that.
All right. Well, I thought this was really catchy and fun. It was a little ballsy too that it was track 3. Like. But that seems to be the case. It was the same on Miss Machine, where you had 2 albums that were essentially, or 2 songs that were essentially in the style of Dillinger that you had come to know and love. And then they dropped this fucker on his track 3. And this is not like Highway Robbery was a really fun song and got you pumping. You got to be a very different kind of music listener to really appreciate a song like this. And it's weird. It's bizarre. It's full of really weird, high-pitched, annoying singing. And it just follows like one beat from beginning to end. And again, though, like, this is far more terrifying for me to hear than a chaotic metalcore onslaught. And again, it's one of those, like, I'm craving the solid ground of a chaotic metalcore song versus whatever this shit is.
Stuff like this reminds me of when the Mars Volta first kind of became a thing, because I asked the question, what's the point? You're going into the studio, you're improvising a record, and then you don't go play it live because all your live shows are improvised. Oh, we're chaotic and progressive. It's like, well, no, this is actually more chaotic because you don't see this coming, and every time they give you a little tidbit, it's almost like they're giving a middle finger to pop music saying, if we wanted to, we could do this. But we're over here doing this chaotic
thing. We're not
thing.
just up here screaming and playing dissonant riffs because we can't play good pop songs.
And we're not doing an album of pop songs because we're lazy and we can't come up with new, creative, chaotic ideas.
I bet they played this fucker live all the time. If I had a song like Black Bubblegum, I would play it just to piss people off.
This would have been the radio visit. Like, and now we're speaking to Dillinger Escape Plan on K91, 17, whatever.
It's obviously kind of a joke song, but do people that listen to pop music know that?
No, they don't.
So, like, it's one of those weird things where I think nobody got the joke. It's kind of like the Beastie Boys' Fight for Your Right to Party, where that was like a parody of, maybe it wasn't Fight for Your Right to Party, but it was like one of their earliest sounds where they were doing a rap thing, but they were making fun of rap because they were just like a punk band before that, and they were making fun of rap, but people liked the rapping that they did so much that they just decided to go with it. And that's definitely the same vibe I get off of Black Bubblegum, because I'm like, well, shit. I think the people were like, oh, Dillinger Escape Plan, this is kind of a weird, crazy song. This isn't what I would expect the band to have sounded like, but here it is, guys. Enjoy it. And enjoy it the masses did after 2 million streams on Spotify. Holy shit.
Ugh.
So then that goes into Sick on a Sunday.
Yeah, Sick on Sunday is tight.
It's terrifying, too.
I love that.
Fuck.
Well, we know what
Like-
Dan likes.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Like, you're just, like, in this little comfort zone until then fuck, I hope you weren't asleep. What, black bubblegum didn't do it for you?
Dude, I think you just figured it out. This is for the people that listen to Dillinger when they go to sleep. You know, by the time you're lulled into this, calm state, you're on black bubblegum, and then you get to Sick on Sunday, and you're almost completely out, and then out of nowhere, just,
This is the part, though, like, this is the only downside with this album for me is the sequencing. As a listener, I didn't appreciate getting Black Bubblegum, Sick on a Sunday, and then When Acting as a Particle all in a row. This is an album where the first 2 tracks are great, and then the next 2, or the next 3 kind of drag for me.
Really? I
And
really
then,
like Sick on Sunday.
It's a good song, but, like, I don't know, When Acting as a Particle comes after it, which is more of just like an interlude
Yeah, it is an
than
interlude,
anything
I'd
else.
say.
And again, I'm the guy that's only here for Godzilla, and in this case,
Okay.
Godzilla is chaotic hardcore, and so I don't get that again from track 2 all the way to track 6.
excuse me, sir, you're here for Godzilla?
Yes.
Okay, he hasn't arrived yet, but King Caesar is over at the bar.
Well, what the hell? I already bought my ticket.
Well, he'll be here
This
later,
is a fucking
sir.
outrage.
King Caesar is
No.
over at the bar.
No,
If
I
you
wanna
want to sit at the bar
I
until
want to talk to your
Godzilla shows
manager.
up.
But yeah, Nong Haigong is awesome.
Can you say that one more time?
Nong
Haigong.
Haigong. Yeah. Don't know what it means. Don't care. So, loved this song. It's also a church burner.
Geoff, save the pews.
It's almost like it's a lot of their stuff is like we say that a bit tongue in cheek. They're like, oh, here's our singles for our the radio listeners, and then the deep cuts for all of our hardcore fans.
I mean, it could have been worse. They could have done an entire album of emo.
Can you imagine?
They could do it.
What
they
if
would have
you
done
bought?
it well.
What if you bought this record on Black Bubblegum alone?
I would be extremely confused.
I'd definitely be asking to talk to somebody's manager then.
I
Which
would-
is sad because if you're at Sam Goody, then it's Geoff that's the manager.
Oh.
So you're kind of between a rock and a hard place there.
See, well, here's the difference though: is that I would have let you know, hey, have you listened to the rest of that album? Because it's not all Black Bubblegum. Because I used to have to have those discussions with people when they would come in. Looking, for they'd get the radio edit of whatever it is, and I'm like, and the rest of the album is like way different. I'm like, yeah, that's just how it works. But thankfully, for the most time, I would actually let people listen to it.
Well, I think that this record, as great as some of the moments on it are, though, I don't feel like this was as strong of a record as Miss Machine. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of crazy shit going on, because it's Dillinger. But I feel like this album lacks a little bit on the actual substance part.
Really?
And instead opts for more interlude-y type of songs. And even though I like the way it sounds, I don't think it's as strong as an actual finished product as Miss Machine was. Just my 2 cents. Still love it, but it's just not it's not as strong as some of their previous material.
You ready for option paralysis?
Absolutely I am. Talk about option paralysis, which is exactly what it sounds like. Having too many fucking options. When you're going to do a podcast, you're like, who do I talk about this week? Well, I guess I'll talk about... No, you need to make a list and follow it, because if not, you'll get option paralysis. It's kind of like having 28,000 DVDs and then deciding what to watch.
Oh, that's
Kids still watch DVDs, right?
Option paralysis is what happens when Dan can't decide what kind of song he wants to write, so Joe shows up with 20 ideas.
Well, and like streaming services, that's a big one with option paralysis.
yeah.
Being
Netflix.
able to have anything at your beck and call, it can be a little rough. Like for me personally, as a music listener, this podcast has been such a positive experience for me because it forces me to listen to stuff without immediately switching to something else.
But I mean, but it just means that I have the one band that I will listen to, and then I just don't skip as much. But yeah, I'm horrible about, especially on like Spotify, going in, finding some weird ass obscure band that's recommended because I'm listening to Dillinger, and then I'll go to that band's page, and then it'll say related artists, and I'll click on another artist that's on that page, and I'll do that like 3 or 4 times till I get to an artist that's like under 1,000 listens, and then hit play.
Okay, so you're a hipster. Got it.
I am not a hipster. I'm just looking for something different.
Hipster emo vampire.
Fuck you.
Got it.
You got that Under Oath CD, right, Geoff?
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. I love it.
It's like a rapture. So, back to good bands.
Dan's still waiting on Godzilla.
Dude.
Yeah, Farewell Mona Lisa is an interesting song in that it actually kind of gives you a preview of everything you're about to experience for the next 40 minutes. In the sense that you have the chaotic metalcore of Dillinger with the experimentation, with the singing, with the industrial parts, with the slow, moody songs. It's all in this one song. And that's different because typically, they start the album out with a blast. And they do that kind of, but like you get about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes into the song, and you're back in you're back in the experimentation department.
And it's a good thing.
Welcome to the experimentation department.
You're
It's
entering
my first
Dan's
day.
experimentation department.
So, like a good neighbor, Dillinger's there.
They're fucking Frankenstein. I was just thinking about that. Like, they're just like a bunch of different human body parts just thrown together.
So these are the parts we found in the graveyard this week.
Do you think
Yes.
Greg's singing vocals on this album started to sound really Mastodon-y?
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
Oh, I am too.
There's a lot of bands at that time, though, that had that same tonality, and I think he was just another one that fit the mold of sweet baritone deliciousness.
Yeah, it's hard to slow your pace down and be playing this heavy, epic, slower type of song and not be compared to Mastodon. That's just par for the course. I mean, this is 2010. Mastodon's already a huge thing at this point, so to say that there was no influence would be ridiculous. And again, like Frankenstein, they're always sewing new body parts onto the monster.
Yep.
And like a monster it is, because Option Paralysis actually gave me that same feeling of like, oh shit, what's going to happen next? There's a lot of that on this record. And a lot of it is within song.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the thing that got me excited, is the fact that it happens within the actual song instead of actually going from song to song, which I've kind of beaten that horse to death. I like the ebb and flows within a song. Whenever you can lull me into a sense of security and then kick my ass, like a half second later. And there's a lot of that on this album, and I love it.
One of my favorite songs on the CD is Gold Teeth on a Bum. This whole record is weird because I think this had probably the least amount of chaotic hardcore.
That is correct.
On it. And normally this is the part of the show where I'm like, they fucking sold out. They wipe their asses with $100 bills, But you can't write music this weird and be wiping your ass with $100 bills.
No, it's 5s and 10s.
There's there's some Captain Beefheart shit going on here. And
bow to the Trout Mask replica.
Yeah. This record is not palatable at all, which is why it's great.
I was getting some Green Jello vibes on this song.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much going on in each song, and I have a little bit of trouble keeping track of it. Not that the songs drag, but none of them. We don't have any 12-minute songs here, but it's just
they fit
so all
everything
over
in a
the place.
12-minute song into a 4-minute song.
Right. Well, it's trying to again sell us on this idea of actual chaos, and that's what this is. Actual chaos doesn't necessarily have to fall in the realm of chaotic hardcore.
It doesn't have to be fast either.
It just has to be weird, and you have to not be expecting it. They've got to do literally the least expected thing in order to stay truly random, and I think that they pulled this off really well on this album. Do you have any standout tracks on this record, Geoff?
I kind of like the whole thing. I'm not gonna
cop out.
I think it's time to talk about One of Us is the Killer then.
Well, which one of us is it? It's Joe. Prancer. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner. Anyway. So, starting off with a bang again.
I think we're back in Miss Machine territory a little bit here.
Yeah. One of Us is the Killer. to me, is a little bit more of a return to form for the band.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they've experimented a little too much on option paralysis. Because again, that record is exactly what it's called. It's option paralysis.
Just like when I had option paralysis trying to pick a song.
Yep, absolutely.
I think option paralysis is good as its own kind of standalone thing. But when I listen to that, I find it to be a mistake to take this type of chaotic metal, chaotic hardcore, and slow it down because it almost becomes unpalatable. So when I listened to this record and it was back to being upbeat and fast, this is a little more of what I wanted to hear, and it became a little more digestible because it was sped up again.
Well, I mean, shit. This is 5 albums in. So, like...
And we can still do it.
Yeah. That's the thing that kills me the most. We're past the 10-year mark now. Most bands that are this intense are not still this intense 10 years later.
Right, they start throwing in the towel.
And that is kind of true in certain respects, but this record is... I was surprised. Like 2013, like, okay, you guys could... If you guys did an entire song or entire album of songs that sounded like Highway Robbery, it would be expected, but they don't. They still go through for the fucking throat. And it's weird that you kept talking about palatable, Joe, because it's not that they're chaotic hardcore. It's palatable. It's just that we're 5 albums in now, and now we're used to it. So now the band has to fuck with us even further so that we don't get too comfortable. That's the common theme that I found with Dillinger Escape Plan. Is the point is not to make you feel comfortable or make you feel good necessarily. It is literally just like an oral assault. It is, you are being confronted on so many different sensory levels when listening to this band that it can be overwhelming, and I think that's the territory that they always want to stay in.
I think that might be my favorite song of theirs, period.
Because it's slow and moody. And you're an emo vampire.
Ta-da!
Perfect.
Yep. Dan hits it. Dude, it just totally chills me the fuck out.
Yeah.
His falsetto is just fucking awesome. It's so good. It's my favorite part of his singing is his falsetto. I think it's really, really underrated.
I don't even think that the songs on this album, like the slower ones like this, are even radio bait anymore.
No, this is not radio friendly.
I don't think Black Bubblegum was radio bait either. I think it just got picked up as that. But one of the things that we've noticed on the last couple of Dillinger albums is they do melodic and emotive songs really well.
They really do.
It's like being in a relationship with a total psychopath because you love them, but you never know when they're going to turn on and start stabbing you in the fucking throat because they're so good at loving you.
No, I'm in.
As Joe said, they're bipolar.
No, I'm in.
Yes, I mean, again, at this point, I don't know what the band's doing. I'm not 100% comfortable, and I'm okay with that because that's what I signed up for. Now, keep in mind, I'm still only here for Godzilla, and I still get Godzilla.
You just happen to get a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
And the extra is good. That's the important part here. There's plenty of other bands out there that have, they try to give you the quote-unquote extra. And it's just, a lumpy mush of shit.
Well, I think we live in a generation where a lot of people only have one thing about a band that they like. Like I listen to this band because they do this one thing. Back in the day, I liked Norma Jean because they did a dissonant chords. As far as I knew, better than anybody else. Then I heard Coalesce and realized that my entire life was a lie. But that's okay. That's fine.
That's a discussion for another podcast.
But that's just it with Dillinger here is that like you can't be that kind of fan. Like their music challenges you to be more than that. Because I mean you have to be emotionally dead to listen to some of these songs, especially on One of Us Is the Killer. you'd have to be emotionally dead and brain dead to not enjoy some of what you're hearing. Whether it's the chaotic music or it's the slower, moodier stuff, there's something for everybody to like here, but it's not there long enough. It's only there as a taste. It's not there as the main dish.
And sometimes that, I have to admit, at times that can get frustrating. The fact that they do everything outside of the black bubble gum, which, like Dan says, was probably a joke, it's done well enough that you're forgiving. The only problem is sometimes whenever you start to get, in the pocket and you're starting to get used to a particular sound, they change it up on you again and go fucking psycho, just like a
hero of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're just screwing with the fans at this point, but not screwing with them
sure
like,
awake.
fuck you. It's, hey guys. So, yeah, we know it's 3 a.m. Shots? Like, they're that guy at the party that never stops.
Yep.
And then when the party's over, he's like, "Are you sure?"
That's very true.
I mean, I can stay if you want. It is 5:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday. You've been here since Monday. Go home.
Are you guys made of money? I mean, how do you just keep it? Well, we had that one single, Black Bubblegum. So yeah, we're made of money now.
So this is whenever the cocaine that was in that blender that Dan was talking about starts kicking in, because they've been up for the last 72 hours.
Oh, dude, there's some LSD in here too. Like, you wouldn't believe. Like, and that's the whole thing is, a lot of the times music is compared to food because I'm an overweight person, and that's the kind of comparisons I like to make. So a lot of times you talk about a full course meal or they delivered the goods or whatever. Dillinger can really only be explained as a smoothie because they're not a meal.
Sampler platter?
No, not even that, because a sampler platter just lacks originality. And that's one thing that Dillinger does not lack. Their originality is unparalleled.
So
with
sampler
a lot
platter
of the bands.
from a fusion restaurant.
No, fuck you. But the what I'm getting at here is that a meal is too structured. A sample platter is too structured. This band is 100% unique, this band, even when they're experimenting. It's not like other bands that'll drastically change their style just to sound like what's popular or to sound like another band, or, like it's always done so arbitrarily in other bands. Whereas Dillinger's experimentation and their departures are still very, very unique to Dillinger. Does that make sense? Like, their experimentation is their own. It's not to match or emulate something else.
Makes sense. It's truly talented musicianship. It's really hard to have this type of music. I know. I've tried to make it. And just have somebody show up one day and say, so this is what I want to do. So what they are doing is so far off of any sort of conventional wisdom. You can't just decide this is what you're going to do today. You have to be a very specific type of musician. And clearly, they are a group of such types of musicians. I don't get the impression that this is a band where one guy shows up and the record's done. This is, you guys go hang out for a week, and then I'll come in, and whatever you guys are jamming on, I'll write some lyrics, and then we'll be done. And they go with every idea. So if it's a straight rock song, or if it's a straight industrial Trent Reznor 9 Inch Nails ripoff, or if it's just chaotic hardcore, they go with it. And that is the hardest thing for a lot of people to do, is just go with it. Myself included. There's a lot of musicians who can't just go with it. They have to make sense of it before they can actually finish it. No. This is a song. Just start singing. And when you're done, we'll put a record out. Have a good day.
It's a challenge. It's like, let's make every idea work. But, like, let's actually make it work. It's not just haphazardly thrown in there. It's crafted. It's like, yeah, we had all these different types of ideas, and we're just going to make it work. We're going to incorporate it into our sound, and it's going to be awesome, and hopefully people like it. If not, fuck them. I don't think this band writes music necessarily for the listener. I think this is all selfish.
I think that's
stuff.
actually kind of part of the appeal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want you to write music for you and let me do the interpretation for myself after the fact.
Well, like I said, it was a palate cleanser for me. I don't want to be told what I want to listen to. I don't want to be recommended stuff. A band like Dillinger is like, yeah, sure, you're listening to Converge on Spotify, and it's like, you may like Dillinger Escape Plan. Like, there's that kind of recommendation, but that's not really an accurate picture of what you're getting, because Converge doesn't experiment like this. You know what I mean? You can go into a Dillinger song, and I think that's what sucks about streaming is I think that sometimes you'll hear a song, and it'll be one of the slower, more experimental songs, and you not really get the idea of how extreme of a band you're actually dealing with.
Well, when I mentioned earlier, whenever I do skip around, when I generally do that skipping, I'm not even listening to the band that I'm clicking on the bio, as bad as that sounds. When I'm doing that, I'm trying to go through to find a band that I don't know, just to try to expand my horizons. But when it's stuff that I do know or I'm somewhat familiar with, I don't just listen to a song. And even whenever I find, whatever that weird ass band is that, only 5 other people have streamed that song, I try to listen to multiple stuff off of it. I don't want to write a band off after just one song, because I know that there's stuff out there that's like this, where it's all over the map, and you always need to give people or bands, an opportunity to show their chops, and just listening to the most listened to song is never going to do that for you.
Oh, so let's jump into 2016 Disassociation.
I know we're all getting hyped up like we're about to give final thoughts, and it's like we have one more album to go.
I gotta go off on a limb here and say I thought the vocal delivery on this album was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel.
Because he changed it. He really changed it up.
The Limerent Death or whatever it's called is fucking awesome, dude.
It is. He screams in the higher register, and it sounds good. And I'm like, man, I would have liked to hear some of those older Dillinger songs sung like this. Just as crazy as ever.
And then you got that ethereal,
yeah,
vocalist behind it, layered in. That's fun. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're not really going into a Dillinger record knowing what you're gonna get, and I mean, I think it's really a huge testament to the band that
they can still surprise us.
If you're only here for Godzilla, you still get him on every album. You still get that chaotic, hardcore thing. So if you're the kind of person that, I only like this band because they do one thing that I like, they make sure to do that one thing at least once on every album. And I think that's pretty impressive. Disassociation I didn't think was as strong as their previous album, One of Us is the Killer. I think it was kind of obvious at this point that they were done. Not that there's anything wrong with this. This is still better than your favorite band's most recent
Swan
album.
Song, yeah.
Yeah. I think they went out with a bang. There's some church burners on this. This is one of the longest Dillinger albums as well. And they just kind of pulled out all the stops.
This is like they had a meeting and said, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, me too. All right, well, let's just do one more. And let's give it as much effort as we possibly can. And the end result was... Are we sure we want to quit, guys?
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, because the next song on this album, I think, is probably my favorite.
Symptom of a Terminal Illness.
Yep.
Yeah.
I dug it. Limerent Death, I really love, too, so...
They don't fuck around on this record. I mean, they do. That's all Dillinger does is fucks around. But, I kind of feel like this band is like the Dream Theater for people that like chaos. Which is ironic, right? Because
with a better vocalist.
Because John Drake hates the Dillinger Escape Plan.
Really?
Yeah.
Let the hate flow through you.
This was a little slow for me starting out, but
I like hearing that lower register baritone. That's just
like,
me.
is there anything he can't do vocally? I see. This is one of the only vocalists I've ever encountered in our podcast that is just has no actual limit to what he can do with his voice.
And the guy who did the EP that I have to go listen to as soon as we're done with this episode is...
I think they probably hired him for being Mike Patton-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a huge compliment if you call somebody Mike Patton light.
Yeah.
Because I think he's one of the best vocalists going and has been for 30 years.
For sure. I didn't appreciate there being such a slow song as the second track. But again, we're not done. We're only 2 songs into a 50-minute album. Yes, Joe's playing Surrogate now, and like it's a church burner, you know. Like
Geoff, get the pews again.
Absolutely, I hate to keep
I know your
using that
basement
term,
is full now, man, but you're just gonna have to keep safe in this wood.
It's the only term I can really use when describing a band this crazy. You know, like it's a church burner. What else would it be? You know, the description fits, and
A disemboweler?
Yeah. I think it's funny too that they kind of mess with you a little bit on some of these more chaotic songs too, where it'll sound like he's about to go into a chorus and then he won't. You know, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. You know, like just keep it on your toes. Like, I mean, I've just never had a band fuck with me to this level. You know, like just really kind of get under your skin. And it's so funny because like I can't wait because the next band we talk about is going to be very structured in comparison. So I'm going to see how much this palate cleanser really did for me. You know, but yeah, Dissociation is a fucking great record. If I can't express that enough,
it's just not as strong as the one prior. But
right.
That's not saying it's bad. It just means
that I personally found the previous album more enjoyable for whatever reason. You know, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not like a huge hit to this band. I think there was a little bit of disappointment knowing that the band was going to be gone after this. You know. So we're not going to ever hear the follow-up to this. Or maybe if they do what all other bands do, in 10 years we'll hear the follow-up to this.
Or we get a greatest hits with B-sides from their record label.
Yeah, if you with every song with Mike Patton singing. But no, I think this is just it for Dillinger. I think that you put these guys in a room for 10 years, you know, like 10 and come out 10 years later. I can only imagine if they were to reunite and release an album, that it would sound what it would sound like. I think it would just be bananas all around.
If they've shown us anything up to this point, it would just be more of the same. And more of the same for this band is whatever the fuck they want to do.
So I mean that's Dillinger for me, man. They've always been around, and they have continuously kicked ass throughout their career. I know it just sounds like a puff piece, but.
And we really don't have anything negative to say.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to most of these albums with a smile on my face the whole time. And
so it's weird. 2 out of the last 3 episodes that we've done, we really haven't argued with each other very much.
Yeah, we have. I don't know. Just trying to throw something on there.
Is that your final thoughts, Dan, on Dillinger Escape Plan?
I'd say my final thoughts on Dillinger Escape Plan is that if you were looking for new and interesting, cool music, you can't go wrong with Dillinger. However, if you're the kind of person that only wants to hear chaotic hardcore, that's totally fine too. Check out Dillinger.
Geoff, what about you?
I love the fact that they challenge their listenership. I love the fact that they make music for themselves and then leave it up to us to decide on how to interpret it. And for me, that's a lot of fun, is just being able to, you know, instead of feel like I'm being pandered to, which happens a lot in music, you know, being able to have a band that just says, hey, we did what we wanted to do, you know, check it out if you want, but if you don't like it, you're stupid. And that's kind of how I feel about Dillinger, is they just put out what they feel like they want to put out and leave the rest up to you. And I've really enjoyed it. This was a fun week to listen to music, I'll tell you that.
The Dillinger Escape Plan is like an all-you-can-eat Benihana cafe in hell. And you walked in, put your credit card on the table, and said, tell the chef whatever he wants, I'll take it. Keep in mind, it's in hell. So you get that first plate of food, and you think, oh, that was really good. And they say, was it good? And you say, yes. And then they bring you some sort of teriyaki chicken and fried rice, and then you start eating that. And by this point, you're kind of full, unless you're me and Dan, because you can keep eating. But then plate 3 shows up, and plate 4 shows up, and remember, we're in hell. So eventually, you're going to get up and be like, hey, guys, thanks, that was really great. They're going to say, no, sit down. No, there's more. And this goes on forever. Because the insanity of a person who's got a grill and an unlimited supply of food, you don't know what that fucker's going to come up with. And that's the Dillinger Escape Plan for me. I know what I'm going to get, but I also know that I have no idea really what I'm going to like. I just know that what's coming is something I enjoy. Geoff, what's your album of the week?
Ooh, let's see if Dan likes this one. Agorapocalypse by Agoraphobic Nosebleed.
Oh, good band, good album.
Dan, what about you?
I've been listening to Give Them Rope by Coalesce. Remastered by our friend Reed Otto from Tetelestai. Just throwing it out there.
I wonder if we're going to get some remastered Living Sacrifice.
Oh, that'd
I
be
hope
awesome.
so.
Some new vocals from DJ.
It could not be avoided. Thank you, Lauren Kozlowski and the Roach Coach. My ticket home, strangers only. Best $11 I've spent in the past 3 months.
Mine was on beer. Logboat.
All right, what episode was this? 69.
Giggity. That's perfect for Dillinger.
And on that note, this has been episode 69 of Discography Discussion. Thank you for listening. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at discussmetal. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Visit discussmetal.com for all things discography discussion, and please send questions and comments to danandjoeshow@gmail.com. If you are not a patron, you can become one at patreon.com/discussmetal. We have some sweet perks.
Yeehaw.